Welcome back to the Deep Digger Sports Pod. I'm your host, Shrew, my other host right over there.
What's up? It's D. Good to see you again. Be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. Drop some comments below. Let us know your thoughts.
Today we are talking the train wreck that is Alabama football this year, apparently. Kalen DeBoer, a lot of talk of him being on the hot seat, talk of what his buyout would look like if he was to get let go by Bama. Is this a little bit too soon for Bama to be hitting the panic button, or do you think this has been kind of trending this way?
100% has been trending this way. I think that there were rumblings last year of, hey, did we really get the right guy? I mean, I know it's tough to really, to follow the guy that just, preceded in Nick Saban, but I don't think we've ever seen Bama have the discipline issues on the field that we've seen. And one thing like people were saying was like, okay, well, that is a culture that was set with Nick Saban. And you didn't just deal with Nick Saban, you dealt with the team captains on the field with you. When you got back to the locker room, you had to answer to these guys because they're pouring their heart and their soul on the line on the field. And it just doesn't feel like that type of Bama team with under Kalen DeBoer. It feels like the screws are really coming loose here. I do think it is early, obviously, and it's such an overreaction. And that's why we love college football. That's why we love Week 1. But this was a bad showing. Their game against Florida State was just an ass kicking of on all levels, and everything that you can do on a football field. Florida State did it better, and on top of that, they had gifted, just gift wrapped, just bulletin board material after bulletin board material. Tommy Castellanos was out there just talking crap the entire off season, and that should have fired up Bama. Everyone was like saying Kalen DeBoer's on the hot seat, and he could have rallied everyone together and made it a rallying cry and been like, all right, we need to go out there and show them. And this is a Florida State team that had pretty much the same thing that they did last offseason, which was, all right, we're going to hit the portal. We're going to find a guy, a transfer quarterback. We're going to find pieces that we need, and we're going to build it up together. The only thing that they did this year that was different than last year is they spent a little bit more money. They got a little bit better talent, and they went out there and they rocked your stuff. And last year they had 2 wins. This year they should be in the top 10 in the AP top 25. But yeah, I think that this all things are bad. I think this is a huge red flag. I think it's obviously too early. They're not going to fire him week 1, but we've talked about it in our preseason preview. Like, this is a pressure cooker, and you just need a couple losses to teams that you shouldn't lose to, and you shouldn't have lost to this Florida State team, and they're going to be calling for your head. And look at what's happening.
Yeah, in a season where he's coming in on the hot seat, loses the first game to a team that did have 2 wins last year, despite like putting aside of what talent they have now. It's a 2-win team last year. You have to win this game. And in a season where people are expecting you to compete for the playoff and maybe even expecting you to compete for a national title here. Uh, and I
Utah
think
State.
this comes at a time where there's a plethora of coaches that you can choose from that you're like, okay, I could see this guy coaching Bama. I think there's a lot of good options that could potentially come on over to the Bama side. And there's been rumblings for a while now that DeBoer is just not he's not able to discipline these players. He's not able to control the team like Saban did. I don't know how confirmed this is, but I was seeing someone came out and said that they had been around the team since Saban and now with DeBoer, and that Saban always had like ran a tight ship. The players were always on time. They had curfew, and with DeBoer, they're getting DoorDash at 1 a.m. They're coming home from their friends, hanging out, doing whatever at 2 a.m. They couldn't get everyone together to get to the buses on time. And so there's things like that where it's like you have a guy in DeBoer that has been questioned for being able to discipline this SEC football team. I know it could be different and like his more laid back style at Washington worked, but this is different. This is SEC. They're used to very outspoken, very verbal and demanding coaches. And they're just not getting that from DeBoer. So I think there's a lot of question marks going left and right. I saw something about the buyout in DeBoer's contract being $60 million, but they were saying what's different is this isn't a one-time payment. It would be something like monthly payments until 31 or something like that, and that the collective for Bama would be kind of prepared to pay that.
I just think it's tough. I think you have to see it out. You can't obviously you can't fire him week 1. You have to see where this goes. But you look at what happened, and I know that people are shitting on Kalen DeBoer right now, and they're saying, why would you not stay at Washington? You would still more than likely be a contender there, and you would have a good chunk of the West Coast just straight to yourself. I know you have Oregon there, but you already had been to the national championship. You have already done a lot of winning. Your style fits what you were already doing in Washington. And one, caveat to that is, okay, well, I wanted to go to where it was a better option for me. And what Nick Saban left behind was a plethora of talent. And yeah, they were a talented team last year. They're a talented team this year. But I don't think they have the quarterback. They don't have the team leaders around there. And Kalen DeBoer has not inspired this team to perform up to their potential. And that's the biggest thing. And then in his press conference after, he was like, hey, well, you know what? Actually, this pissed me off. I felt good about the way we prepared this team. The team was ready to go. It just didn't happen. And it's like, what are we talking about, Kalen? What are we actually talking about? This is a team that got just straight up dominated from, start to finish. You should not feel good about anything from this team. So I just don't know what type of culture he is truly trying to set here at Bama. We'll see how it ends up shaking out. I just don't think that you can make the call after 1 week. I know fans are clamoring for it, and I know people are calling for blood. I just don't. You gotta have to at least play out this year.
And I think one of my main concerns with them is the lack of effort from the players that you could see visibly on the field, just jogging around, letting people score. Uh, yeah, that's if that there'd be anything, I'd say like quarterback. I know there's question marks about him, and then the effort on the defense side of the ball. That's just not going to cut it. What we saw against Florida State for the SEC.
Well, you said for Florida State. For um, this is actually 100% what we saw from Florida State last year. Bama put a Florida State effort in this game. And it's crazy because you didn't start to see that from Florida State until they got a few losses under their belt. But Bama was throwing this out in week 1. Bama, it was already feeling like they've given up. Florida State went in there and took their heart. Can you get it back now? I have my doubts. I don't think it's going to happen. I know that everyone preseason was saying, hey, watch out for Bama. They're sneaky. They got a lot of talent on this team. They don't have a whole lot of leadership on this team. They need to figure that piece out before they can do anything. So I don't know who needs to step up, but we need to see leaders on that team, on that Bama squad sideline.
Yeah, quote Castellanos, Nick Saban ain't there to save you no more. So
Oh, yeah. Did you see he started selling merch?
no,
Yeah, he's selling T-shirts saying they say Nick isn't going to save you.
that's pretty tough.
That's pretty hard.
I would
But
do
yeah,
the because you saw the story where they said that the Alabama recruiters would call Nick Saban daddy.
no, no.
I'd put daddy ain't here to save you no more. Which that's also a questionable. Why you have grown men calling you daddy at your work at your work? I don't
Hey,
know. But you guys let us know what you think in the comments. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll see you next time.
later.